All right, we're back.
Hello.
More Star Treks. Kenny is joining us once again to finish our Star Trek conversation. Let's jump into it. So let's move to Deep Space Nine.
All right.
All right, our captain this time is not a captain, he's a commander.
That's right.
Commander Sisko. And this one is different because we're not on a starship, we're on a space station. And it is basically like the gateway to this wormhole. That's what the first couple episodes are about, or discovering this wormhole. And to me, right from the get-go, this show felt much more political than the other shows. Like, it's a lot more about intrigue and about war and, like, tensions between different races. Much more so than we ever see, like, in Next Generation.
Yeah. It's 3 episodes in or whatever that they're already dealing with the whole, like, you know, Garrick, maybe he's a spy and all this. And then the Konma.
Is that the...
They're like a terrorist,
group? Yes, that's right.
The Maquis, or are we talking about the terrorist group of the Bajorans? Do they have
Of the Bajorans.
The Bajorans,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that's like, what's her name?
Kira?
Is Kira in it? Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
She used to be in it, and then they're like, are you still even loyal to us? Like that
Yeah. So yeah, the setup in terms of like who's who and who are the players here. You have the Bajorans, which is like the planet next to this wormhole, right? Like it's like really close.
Yeah.
And then you have Deep Space Nine used to be a Cardassian station. And the Cardassians are like real weird looking lizard people. They're not like lizards, but to me they look lizardy.
Yeah, they've got kind of these bumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like portrayed as super aggressive and just like warmongering people. At one point, Picard gets captured by them in Next Generation and is like treated really terribly. Like it's a fucked up couple of episodes.
Yeah.
So like we're, you know, if you had already watched that series and you're going into this, you're like, okay, Cardassian's the bad guys for sure.
Yeah.
And they're treated like that. They seem pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. So they had control of the station, then they ended up leaving because like Bajorans, they won their like war of independence, right?
Yes, there was a settlement or something. Like
There was some sort of treaty between them and the Cardassians had to leave.
yeah.
That's okay. Yeah.
I think that's right.
And so
Yeah, that
these
sounds right to
Bajoran, they have an official government now, but then the Konma are like, fuck that, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, so classic provisional government.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have people who like think the treaty didn't go far enough, and so they're pissed that they don't have control of Deep Space Nine, I think, too. Like, the Federation has control of it. So, and a lot of the conflict comes from that you have, like, the Federation is technically in control, but they are still, like, juggling these two sides. Like, Major Kira is a character who's Bajoran, and so she fucking hates Cardassians, understandably, and, like, she breaks a lot of rules to, like, help out people and to try to really fight for her side, because she is technically a representative of the Bajorans.
Yeah, she's not
an officer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because Deep Space Nine is a Cardassian space station, like you mentioned, and it's funny because you're trading like one occupation for another in a lot of ways. You know, the Federation's seen as a better option, and they seem nicer and everything, but they're literally occupying the same space as the Cardassians were before.
Yeah.
And I also think it's an interesting, like, creatively, an interesting backdrop because it's like, I feel like the set artists got to use a bunch of different cues and visual language that they're not used to using with Star Trek because it's like a different culture and stuff.
Yeah, there's this one episode where they do flashbacks to when it was a Cardassian thing, and like they changed the lighting, so it's like really dark and scary. I'm like, this seems inefficient. You can't fucking see. It's like we're in a haunted house.
It's like the Klingon ships are that way.
Oh yeah, the Klingon ships are just fucking caves.
There's like a fire going on.
Yeah. Which what?
Real quick, we should mention it is fucked up to have like your race of warrior people like all be black. Like that's pretty weird.
Yeah, and they were, I don't know, playing with kind of a Mongol stereotype too, or a Genghis Khan sort of thing.
It's very much like exotic savages kind of thing, and it's pretty weird.
It is. I agree.
They also, I want to point out, Romulans in the original series, they were straight up in like brown and blackface.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I think Klingons were as well.
Yeah.
And they didn't even have the forehead wrinkles. No, they were just really
retconned them.
Yeah, it was like the genetic wars did it or something.
They had some explanation. Yeah. But that's also fucked up because I think they kind of imply that the Romulans are like the more volatile version of the Vulcans, and it's like, okay, guys, cool move.
Jeez.
Okay, the thing about occupation. I think the episode to me that really clarifies this, I unfortunately don't remember the number, but it has to be in season 1 or 2, so go searching for descriptions. They send Kira to this, like, moon in, I guess, the territory or whatever, or this planet, I don't remember. And there's, like, an old man who refuses to leave because they're going to mine that moon or whatever, and the planet's going to be unlivable. And the Federation is fucking kicking people out. And the guy straight up says, what's the difference between this and the Cardassians? They were going to kick me out too. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And like, it's a really fucked up episode where she's like, I don't want to do this. Like, she almost quits her job. Like, it's a weird one.
What do they do? I mean, do they...
He ends up having to leave. They have to, like, forcibly remove him.
Wow.
Yeah. It's fucked.
I kind of like it. The Federation's not always doing the good thing there, really.
And it's for mining, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad. That's extractive.
Yeah.
Were they saying, like, oh, but we need this planet so we can save this many lives to make a medicine or something, you know? Like,
Let's see.
It wouldn't be
otherwise,
surprised.
it's really mean.
Yeah.
It's
Otherwise,
super
just,
mean.
what? I mean, even then, it's still like, okay, well, let's balance it out, you know? Is this worth it? But just to, like, we just need some more crystals. That's not very...
Progress is the name of the episode. Found it. Season 1, episode 15. Okay, it's being converted. The moon is being converted into a massive power plant that will render the entire surface uninhabitable. Cool power plant. Old man refuses to leave. Oh god, and they have an option to not destroy the planet. I forgot about this. So if they do it slower, like, people can stay, but they want to get it, like, really quickly. I think it's the Bajoran government that's making them do this. But either way, the Federation's enforcing it, so, like, that's pretty fucked. Yeah, Bajor is the one directing this mining operation.
So it's Bajor's territory or something? Like, they control it?
Yeah. So it's not the Federation that's, like, I mean, they're still helping, though. They sent Kira.
But it's now a problem not just of doing imperialism yourself, but it's a problem of, if you are going to be in favor of self-determination and autonomy for all nations or whatever, then you got to let them do bullshit like this, right? I mean, if that's your principle, then, you know, and then it gets to be like, well, should we make a better call than these guys and not do this? I don't know if in this episode the Federation was really thinking about stopping them.
It seems like they were just helping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was her and Bajoran troops, though. So it wasn't like the Federation doing it, but, like, she's associated, you know? If anything, politics aside, she is a main character of the show who is forcibly removing an old man from his home.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. I do think that in Deep Space Nine, that is a common theme. Is like this tolerance thing, where, you know, I mean, I think it's a good thing to pay attention to. But I think sometimes they'll just explain away when characters, like, have, like, a difference in opinion. They'll explain it away by being like, oh, the right thing to do is just let them do their thing and what they think is best. And I think that's a good argument for self-determination. And like you were saying, you know, if you're going to put yourself in that position, are you there to help them do what they need to do? Or are you there to tell them what needs to be done? Yeah.
Well, I think an example of that is there's a religious element to Bajor. Like, they're very religious.
Yes.
And, like, as someone who is not into that, I'm like, I like the independence movement. I don't like that part. Like, ooh, like, and it ends up, like, turning against Deep Space Nine at one point. They, like, protest the school that they set up there because it's not teaching that the wormhole is, like, sacred or whatever. Oh. And they're like, we're only teaching science here? But then they're like, like, it does turn into this weird, like, trying to be respectful of cultures, but still trying to, like, teach what you want to teach. Like, it's kind of weird.
You run into that conflict and it's not
clear cut.
Yeah, you can't necessarily just resolve it. Well, you know, it's this one or the other one.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I guess you do have to make that choice. You can't just be like, let's just be tolerant the whole time, or let's let everyone do what they want, because sometimes they want to do shitty things.
Well, the religious movement, spoiler guys, ends up doing extremist, like, bombings. So they bombed the school.
Ah, wow. Okay.
It doesn't make it easier that Ben Sisko ends up being part of their religion. So
he's like seen as a prophet, right?
The envoy. Yeah.
Crazy. What the fuck?
Further down in the series, like, one of their religious icons, like, deems him part of some prophecy because he, like, makes contact with the wormhole aliens, and which to them are prophets or whatever. And so now he's the envoy, and he's, like, part of their religious structure, kind of. So they're involved whether they like it or not. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think he believes in it, but that's another like moment where he really has to decide like, do I like play into this? Do I like impose what I think? And he usually decides to just kind of play along and do what people want him to do. And
it's so uncomfortable
in that angle, at least. Yeah, I don't know.
Can you
It
not
is
make
uncomfortable.
me part of your religion, please?
Yeah.
Like that. That is a weird question of like autonomy versus respecting people's beliefs.
Yeah.
Like if it's about literally you, like I think he would have a right to be like, no, thanks.
I'm not this.
Those first episodes, that's a wild way to open your season, is like, here's a wormhole and also aliens and also we're gonna fuck with time, and like it was a very confusing start. I was like, what did I just watch?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to think of the wormhole as like a critical port or some infrastructure, for like as an allegory for now.
Ooh, like what?
Well, I don't know. Like a lot of times it's seen as like a gateway into like the bad other aliens in the Gamma Quadrant or whatever, and it's interesting. I don't know. I think in one of the episodes we'll talk about this guy tries to blow it up.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to stop some problem, but it would also mess up a lot of other things because it's it's transport for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Okay, so you're comparing it to like, I don't know, the Suez Canal or something.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Or just like a really big ship port or something. I don't know.
I imagine like, I don't know, once we have shit on the moon, like that'll probably become a launching off point. Same thing with Mars. Like,
do we want to get into that episode
let's get into that episode. All right, so season 1, episode 3. Past prologue. More terrorism, guys. A lot of terrorism in Star Trek. So yeah, this is dealing with the Bajoran terrorists, and it's all about like whose side is Kira on. And I think it's really interesting how both sides are trying to kind of play her and test her, and it felt very much like when it felt almost like a Twitter battle of like, are you even like leftist anymore? Like her friends from like her old group was very much questioning her.
Yeah, well, I mean, they raised legitimate points. Like, are in the government, basically. How are you going to say you're in with us? Like, you're working for the Federation who's like occupying this place. Like, what the hell,
Yeah. And then I think though the writers, I don't know if this is a symptom of like the time or a little bit of West Wing brain here, of like they're trying to portray her as being like reasonable centrist, of like, no, I'm trying to fight from the inside, I'm trying to make change.
Absolutely.
At one point, this is a different episode, literally. So that religious group, they try to like do a coup, and she's like, why don't you just vote? Like, she says that.
Oh no.
Like, if you want change, just vote for a different council. And I'm like, you used to be a terrorist, lady. What happened?
He's fallen far.
Yeah, so she does not hold on to those sympathies for long.
What do y'all think about, you mentioned this terrorist group, the Coma, like what do we think about them? It looks like they're kind of reactionary because trying to like put things back the way they were before the wormhole, right?
I think so, yeah, because if he wants to destroy it, he's like, it's weird because most of the series is about how Bajor sees this as an opportunity, and like now they're kind of a planet of power because they're near this wormhole. And yeah, he is kind of reactionary in that way of like, no, I don't want that attention almost. Like he sees it as, this is what caused the Federation to come occupy us.
Yeah.
And it, if given the chance, the Cardassians would definitely take it over again. They almost did in the first few episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think part of his reasoning, at least what I read, I didn't rewatch this one, I probably should have.
That's cool.
But it sounded like he was trying to destroy the wormhole for his purpose at least was to stop more Federation people coming through, to like continue to like mess up what he understood as like what needed to stay preserved or stay the way it was, or
so he's kind of isolationist.
Yeah, it sounded like that to me.
Yeah. I think he's very uncomfortable, like with just the Federation presence too. Like, I mean, he just went through occupation.
Yeah, I feel him.
Like, I get it. Like, what is the tangible difference? I mean, like, they make a big point to say like how gruesome the Cardassians were, though. Like, they had like fucking concentration camps, basically.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you do still have like guys with big guns in the sky right above you.
Yes, it's not pleasant either way.
Kira explains that at the end, after he gives up or they end up capturing him or whatever happens. I'm not sure what happens there,
I think he like takes her hostage and she ends up like knocking him out. And
That's
like,
right.
yeah, I mean, I was going to say betrays, but like, you know, she sticks with the Federation. She sticks with the provisional government. Like, she's done with that.
Yeah. Apparently she says that he may come to understand why this was the right thing to do someday.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they really explain it though, because it sounds like what she's saying is that like the Federation is the safer occupation choice. You know, and that like, you know, but then she's like not really saying it. She's like, maybe you'll understand one day, you know. But like, what's her proof? You know, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of proof, but
well, not just I don't know. She doesn't even have to fully say that, but she's saying that regardless of whether they're good or like a better choice or whatever, doing this to achieve that it would have been wrong.
oh yeah,
right?
no, I get that
Yeah.
for sure.
So-
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think his solution is a stupid one for sure.
yeah.
But I took that comment as like much more condescending of like, yeah, this is how progress is made.
Yeah.
Like
You have to
you're
give
being
over
childish.
Your power or something to this larger force. I don't know.
It's for your own good.
Yeah, it felt very patronizing. It felt like, you know, we just have to listen to our government and that's the way it is.
Follow the process.
Follow the process. She's a process bitch now.
Don't blow things up. Vote. And everything will be good.
Yeah. It's weird kind of how quickly because at first she's very antagonistic to Cisco and really like the Federation as a whole, like the first few, I guess 2 episodes. And she's already like defending them. Like episode 3, she's done. She's like, I'm on your side now. Like, I think that's weird. I don't think they could have stretched that out way longer, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. What did you guys think about Odo?
Odo's a fucking cop.
Yeah, I
hate him.
I found a hilarious thread about this.
Ooh, yeah.
From someone on Twitter named @Foon.
Okay.
Foone.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Foon says, I like how DS9 is like, you can be a good cop, see? We've got Odo. Odo, why did you want to be a police officer, Odo? I don't know, it's just something I've always felt was right. Like justice and order is in my DNA.
Yes, he always says that. He's like, I don't know what species I am, but I know I'm all about justice.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So weird.
And Foon continues into this, but basically we were bringing up DS9. Well, I'm sure if we ever figure out what your species is, there'll be a race of policemen and peacekeepers. DS9, LOL, just joking, they're space fascists.
Oh my god, are they?
Yeah, what do they call them, the founders?
Okay.
And they're basically trying to, you know, they're in the Gamma Quadrant or whatever, and they're the shapeshifters, like Odo.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they can basically impersonate anyone, and they're, you know, trying to control everything.
That totally tracks.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, that's why it makes a good cop.
Yeah, right? Jeez.
Odo, I just always felt the drive to maintain order in the world. Founders. Yeah, that's because the desire to dominate all the other races is built into your soul, and only we have the strength and will to control the galaxy.
What the fuck? Okay, so Odo is a cop, like confirmed cop to his core.
Yeah. So I became a police officer. Founders, it's a start.
Yeah.
It's just, Foon is basically saying it's amusing because on one hand it's subtle. They didn't just come out and say it. On the other hand, it's exactly the opposite of subtle.
Yeah, that's so, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get to that part in the series.
Yeah, no, I think they become, the founders become kind of like the main baddie towards the end of the series, or at some point in the series.
It's kind of like their Borg, like all about order.
Yeah, for sure. Spoilers, but they all hang out in a big ocean together, because, you know, Odo can turn into a liquid, and that's like their natural form.
Oh,
it is similar to Borg in that way, where
That
they like
is.
share a consciousness.
Yeah.
Oh, Gushy cop.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I call him, is Gushy cop. He fucking sucks, though, even without knowing his fashy background. I mean, this man has never heard of a warrant in his life.
Oh my god, yes.
He's always like, I'll just turn into a rat and spy on them, and then I'll just hear what they're doing, and it'll be fine.
So do they not have warrants or criminal procedures of any sort? You know, like, do people not have those sorts of rights in the Federation, maybe?
I don't know, because they have like a little holding cell situation, but they don't really reference prison in this one. They do in Voyager. They do trials in like TNG. They do like, but those are all like military, like court martials.
Mm-hmm. What do they have? The right to privacy? I mean, this guy's like surveilling them. You know?
Yeah, he can look up almost anything on his little computer. So.
Well, there was something about how he's like a liquid and he's shape-shifting, so he doesn't really need eyes to see.
Oh.
So like he's really can see omnidirectionally around him is like what people are saying. Like I'm not sure if they say this anywhere in the series, but there may have been some reference to like, well, why do you have eyes? Oh, it's just to make all the humans more comfortable.
Yeah. I saw this great post about him. Like, okay, because the way he appears is like he can't quite nail the human face, right? Like he's got a weird, smooth.
It's like
weird
made
face.
of clay or something.
He's got a scopy face. But he can turn into a perfect rat.
Yeah.
Why isn't that like a low poly rat? I want a PlayStation 2 rat.
Humans are just too complex to understand. Okay?
Just don't understand.
Just don't understand. Just ask Data. Yeah, that's a great point. Like, I don't understand their justice system. It seems to be like if Odo catches you, you're in trouble. At one point, there's an episode where he like is trying to catch a scammer, but he doesn't have enough evidence. So like he still has to have some sort of process.
Yeah, he seems to mention a lot that he's like upset with all the rules that the Federation has about due process and things like that. He's like, if
fascist cop.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are rules. He just hates them and ignores them.
Exactly.
Ugh.
Or maybe reluctantly follows them sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, Odo.
That's funny.
Ferengis. Let's talk about them. I love these little freaks.
They're so funny.
So they're like these nasty little guys. They look ugly. They've got like weird, like literal butt heads and giant ears, and they have like pointy teeth, and they're capitalists. Is really the only way to describe them.
The way they like to describe themselves is having the lobes for business.
Yes. It's like lobes or balls, basically. Yeah. They're always like, oh, he's got big lobes. It's really played for laughs. Like, it's great. I think they're introduced in Next Generation.
I think they're,
And it is also played up for laughs.
Yeah.
But Deep Space Nine may have a lot more interactions with them.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, they're not really part of the crew, seemingly. Or maybe, actually, I think Nog, the younger kid, is like, he's friends with Jake Sisko, the commander's son. And there's a lot of funny interplay between them because just like cultures and stuff, like they go on a double date once and it's horrible. Nog is like,
Nog is the worst.
Just doing the weirdest, like, will you chew my food for me to his date? Just like what? Yeah. Wow. He's like, but that's customary on our planet. And like the weird solution they come to at the end is like, well, maybe we should work a little harder to understand each other. And it's like, but where do you draw the line?
Yeah, because their culture sucks. Like, there's an episode where a female Ferengi goes undercover as a male Ferengi so she can do business because apparently, like, women Ferengi don't wear clothes and aren't allowed to do any business and like are just like enslaved. And it's just like, hey, that's capitalism, guys.
Yeah, I love that they're open about that. Like,
So it's a shitty culture. Like, Nog is super sexist. Quark flirts with anything that moves. Like, it's a bad one.
Yeah. So one of the things that the Ferengi is like governed by, it's kind of like their Bible or almost like their constitution or something, is their rules of acquisition.
Yes,
and,
I love these.
Yeah, and it is similar to the Bible in that like they reference that it's been rewritten a bunch of times. And so like I found online the best they could piece together of these rules of acquisition. I think there's some books published or whatever, but they all have references to episodes, and there's a lot of blank spots and missing numbers and stuff. But it's also kind of alluded to that people kind of make it up. Like they have an unwritten rule that I think Quark says at some point. He's like, when no appropriate rule applies, make one up.
Of course.
But I wrote down a list of my favorite ones that kind of jumped out at me. So if y'all want to hear those.
Lay it on me.
Cool. Okay, so rule of acquisition number 21. Never place friendship above profit.
Yeah.
We got number 34. War is good for business.
Yeah.
Y'all ready for the one right after it? Number 35. Peace is good for business. 94, females and finances don't mix.
Oh.
Yeah.
which is a classic Ferengi.
Absolutely.
There's two numbers that are the same one.
Oh.
95 and 45 are expand or die.
That one's important. We read it
Don't
twice.
forget it.
Oh, this one I feel like I've heard in multiple episodes. Number 111. Treat people in your debt like family. Exploit them.
Oh my
Yes.
god.
Yeah.
I mean, that's right. Like, Quark runs a family business.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Employs his family and stuff, probably
Yeah.
for under the usual wage of Latinum or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has his brother and then like his son, and he treats both of them terribly.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I have three more.
Yes.
Number 211. Employees are the rungs on the ladder of success.
Oh, that's really good.
Don't hesitate to step on them.
Oh wow.
Number 214. Never be afraid to mislabel a product.
Great.
And so there was like a list of unofficial ones, and I think it's something about the number wasn't confirmed, or someone thinks that there may be like one that someone made up, which with the unwritten rule, like it could be any of these.
Yeah.
This is number 299, I guess. After you've exploited someone, it never hurts to thank them. That way, it's easier to exploit them next time.
Oh my god.
So like I love all of these because it really barefaced like shows
Yes.
like a lot of capitalist ideas that aren't put this way usually.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a kick out of that.
I really think you could take that book and translate it, like soften it a little bit. That's a best-selling business book right there.
Oh, yeah.
You could absolutely market that.
Yeah. You'd have to dress it up to sound nice.
You'd say like employees are your strongest asset or something
Oh,
instead of
yeah.
stepping on them.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the best part about the Ferengi. It's just how bald-faced. Clearly, this is bad. Like everyone can see how selfish they are. It's played for laughs. It's played for like. It can be like also like played more seriously. But at the end of the day, we all can agree they're bad. And then when you look at it, it's like that is just capitalism, guys. Like, how do they get away with that?
Well, because the other interpretation is that is bad capitalism, right? So that's the extreme. As long as we're not like mean like that, when we have some rules in place and we try to be good people and treat people, like there's a way to do that but nicely, and you're not as bad as the Ferengi that way. Their sin is being so,
Like
open with it.
Uh-huh.
And,
I weirdly respect Quark though, especially because he's constantly antagonizing Odo.
Yeah.
But I think I do like one. Yeah, I love that's funny. Please fuck with the cock guy. But he's so open about it. It's a little bit charming.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's like I know what you're about. Like I know how to avoid you and like get whatever I need out of an interaction with you. Like he's so. And you can see that with like how I think Dax is really good at interacting with him. She's just like, yeah, whatever. It's just how he is, and like she's chill about it.
Yeah.
I'm not like saying he's a good person, but I think he's entertaining.
Well, no, it's because we deal with just a infinitely more annoying version of that, which is the book you were talking about, right? If you dress that up in the
pretty
nice,
version.
yeah, that sucks because it's like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just being duplicitous too. It's trying to convince you that it's nice and it's your friend. But
Yeah. I mean, it's like in Conquest where they say like a lot of capitalism is lying to yourself, and that is the Ferengi just take that out.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like refreshing. It's like
It
here
is.
we go. This is funny.
This is what you're about.
Yeah. I think Quark is charming sometimes too, and like wins over some characters because he is very like nice about a lot of these things.
I think he still has a conscience.
He seems to have a conscience, but he's also like always trying to do some deal behind whatever he's saying.
Yeah.
And so pretty much every character can like accept that at face value and still appreciate him, but also like have this distance to know that like if they like shake his hand for some deal, like they're gonna get screwed over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember there's an episode where like he helps them break out of a hostage situation, and like I don't know, he is purely selfish because you could be like, well, yeah, because he would rather work with these people than I think it was the Bajorans who took over for a minute. But I don't know, like there are moments where like he's kind of nice, like even with that female Ferengi, he ends up like kind of liking her, and like he's like, fuck, what do I do? Like it's interesting when he does have these moments of like quote unquote humanity.
Oh yeah, the cognitive dissonance between his rules that he grew up with and what everyone around him is trying to tell him is right, you know.
Yeah,
Which is, it's kind of interesting to see it like when he's sort of the main character of the episode and he's having to go through those struggles. I don't know.
Yeah, and he like cares about Nog and stuff.
Yeah.
Sort of in his own way. Let's get to our next episode we want to talk about here, which is actually 2 episodes. Season 3, episodes 11 and 12, which is called Past Tense, confusingly enough. I know we just talked about past prologue.
Oh, this is the history one.
Yes. So this is the first episode of DS9 I watched because West Wing Thing did an episode on this. They got so sick of watching West Wing, they're like, fuck it, we're just gonna do an episode on Star Trek.
Nice. I've also listened to a podcast where they play by play watch this episode and analyze every piece of it. I can't remember which one it was, but I think it's like it's a common one to talk about because there's so much good content.
There's really some good shit in here. All right, who wants to get the synopsis? I feel like I keep talking, so someone else do it.
So they are beaming down to San Francisco to do a conference or something really boring, and then the transporter fucks up and sends them instead back in time. They end up in San Francisco, but in 2024.
2024? It's that
2024.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wait, Ireland is also going to unify and we'll have the Bell Riots?
Yeah.
Big
Lots
year
of-
coming
yeah.
up.
Yeah, I wrote a
Lots of
note.
things.
9/4/2024. Wouldn't it be wild if things went down that soon?
Yes. Hell yeah.
Guys, we're so close. Just gotta hang out. Hang on for a little bit longer.
So they end up there. They get accosted by like the
cops.
the cops / janitor. They look like janitors. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
And sent to like the ghetto, the sanctuary area. And then the B plot is like the rest of the crew trying to get to them, trying to find them. And so we quickly find out that everything is shitty here in San Francisco. Dax is separated, and she ends up found by this rich guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
This like tech billionaire dude.
Gets to see the other side.
Yeah.
I think it's so good.
So we have Tale of Two Cities going on, basically.
I talked about earlier how no one seems interested in history. Cisco knows his shit. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're in this year. This is what's going on. Like, he absolutely has the historical context for this, which I think is cool. It makes
It's
it more
refreshing.
watchable.
I think that like moving past Next Generation to DS9 and Voyager, really, like there is this kind of maturity of being like, oh, we need to pay a little more attention and not just gloss over this stuff. And like, there's a lot. I think they found some stuff to focus on that they hadn't in the previous ones.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
early space history, I guess, late Earth history. Filling in those gaps.
Yeah.
I mean, Enterprise does that, for sure. That's
Yeah.
the whole point of Enterprise, is like, how the fuck did we get to space, guys?
Yeah, that's right.
They realized that was of interest. People actually care.
Yeah, that's interesting. So they get sent to the slums. And
Yeah.
it's like a tent city. And I've seen this meme floating around of like, they're like, this is what Earth is like now. And everyone's like, yes.
Yeah.
It's true.
And they kind of explore this as they throughout the episode, what the conditions there are. But like, you have, I guess the government sort of provides your food and technically your shelter, although it's like super overcrowded. And they're like, oh, look at us, we did that. But you also can't leave. you're walled up in there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is this like a example of like authoritarian communism or something? Or trying to be? Or is it just straight up fascism?
Yeah, I think it's the Warsaw Ghetto. It's
Yeah, it is just fascism at that
basically. You're saying, and they have these divisions of people, and they're like, oh, some people are dims and some people are gimmies. Like,
Yeah. What do all those mean again?
dims is like you're messed up, like you have, I don't know, brain problems or something to where you can't understand anything and you're just there. And then gimmies are people who like could, it seems like able-bodied, maybe people who could work but were just there to like get a handout.
Oh my god, of course.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Gotta shit on those.
And the administrators of this place are like, when they talk to Cisco and Bashir, they're like, oh, sorry, we thought you were just the dims or whatever. We
Yeah,
thought
because they're
you
so
were
confused and they're wearing weird clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they're like, sorry we treated you, that way. Like, here, let's try to help you out, sort of thing.
It's pretty fucked.
Yeah.
Because if you were, like, mentally handicapped, like, you still shouldn't treat someone like that. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and they just call them dims, and they're just like, that's how it is. And I don't know, yeah, you're right, it's very fascist, because it's...
regimented in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
very divided. The rest of society, we'll see that on Dax's side is you get to really live it up. That's fancy over there.
yeah, they throw like a fancy party, and like she gets like basically rescued by this guy, and to me it feels very like damsel in distress kind of thing. Like he wanted to be the hero for her.
Oh yeah,
he even says that when he first,
There's a thing about the DVD commentary.
Ooh.
So as the episode was finishing production, an article appeared in the Los Angeles Times describing a proposal by the then mayor, Richard Riordan, to create fenced-in havens for the city's homeless.
Oh my god.
To make downtown Los Angeles more desirable for businesses.
Wow.
Which is like,
God.
they wrote it and they predicted it basically.
Yeah. I mean, you see this happening. Like, DPD is constantly clearing out homeless centers, or not like official centers, but like tent cities in Dallas. Like, they get cleared out all the time. Like, Camp Rondo was this huge one, kind of in my area, and like they shut that the fuck down. Like, and they don't have any solutions of where these people want to go. They're just like, no, this place is now too nice for you.
Yeah, they do that in various cities around here. I think that our state government has some sort of mandate that requires them to get rid of those because they hate people.
I think they had a recent thing in California too, where they were doing a lot of that shit as well. I can't remember the circumstances. We can cut this because
their governor went and like grabbed a broom and went to go help. Like,
oh my god! Like literally,
like was out there sweeping up homeless and homeless camps.
What the fuck?
That's bizarre.
Yeah,
insane.
It's like good photo op. But yeah, so they are in the sanctuary, and it sucks, and they're trying to like survive, and Cisco realizes, oh hey, the Bell riots are about to happen.
Yeah.
So we got to be careful. We can't like influence things too much. This is a big, huge historical event. Keep your head down, basically.
Whoops.
And they get in a fight, and this guy comes to help him, and he gets stabbed and dies, and it's Gabriel Bell.
Whoops. I mean, he was a hero through and through.
Yeah, he gave his life. And the bright idea they have is, I guess Cisco's going to be Gabriel Bell now.
Oh, new Bell.
They said in the synopsis that he resembled him.
They were both black.
Okay, that fucked with me a little bit.
Yeah, that's weird.
You don't see much of Gabriel Bell.
Yeah, he dies so fast I don't even remember what he looks like.
Yeah.
At the end, basically, he becomes
He's the, which, I don't know, time doesn't work like that, I don't think.
No.
Like, he would have remembered, this guy looks like me when he read it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's weird.
Bizarre.
Don't think about it too hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
So they're giving out food, or so they're giving out like your basics, but it seems like that's not enough because like everyone's still looking for work, right? From what I remember,
it's technically enough to survive, it seems like, but you have to like wait in line all day.
You wait in line. You're living in like squalor.
You're sleeping on the ground, because each of the housing buildings they like have guards out, from the people that are just like, no, this is overcrowded, you can't come in. So it's it's definitely not enough. The cops just kind of like run rampant through this place. I think the lady who checks them in says like, give the cops a wide berth. They just had their pay cut. Like they might rough you up, basically.
Oh no.
God, that's. Yep.
Well, it's good advice today too.
Yeah, I'll say that. Yeah. Oof.
Oh no.
All right, what do you guys think about the how they lay out the Bell riots? Because Cisco says like, okay, so the Bell riots are going to happen. This guy, Gabriel Bell, changes everything, man. He protects the hostages, and the government does. They go in and they kill a lot of people, and they kill him, and they're everyone's just so outraged by what happened that they start making changes. They solve all their social problems. Everything gets better.
I think it's interesting that they lionize Bell instead of like the guys who took over the building in the first place.
Yeah, sounds a little bit like a great man to me.
A little great man history
yeah.
too. Yeah.
They focus on this one guy, and Bell, he's like a martyr. This is the way that, you know, change is made, is you go out there and let the cops do this to you versus like you said, the people who actually did the taking over in the first place.
Yeah. Because they're portrayed as just like, they just want to do this. Well, no, they're portrayed as pretty revolutionary, right?
Not really. Bell is, you know, Cisco is the one who gives them the idea to do the revolutionary thing. Like the guy with the hat, he is more like, I just want us to be able to escape.
Okay, yeah,
They
yeah.
want to get out to wherever. They want to flee.
Yeah.
And Bell's like, yeah, but we can't leave all these people here. And Cisco's like, we can't leave all these people here. We got to demand change here and now, you know. But I don't know. I thought it was, like you said, very great man. Like,
Yeah.
this really hinges on one person. And a specific sort of person who's not achieving this by, like, blasting open the right people, but by, you know, refusing to, you know,
By
the
being kind of
nonviolent
centrist
sort
about
of.
it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Negotiating with the powerful to get these things changed incrementally, too. Like, it really doesn't
point.
happen immediately. On the other side, we had Dax with the tech billionaire guy. And they go to their fancy party. And I thought that was...
Oh, yeah.
That was quite the scene.
Like, do you think Dax even... Because I couldn't tell when they got separated. Like, how aware do you think she was of the conditions? Like, she kind of, like, slowly becomes aware of, like, the slums and stuff, right? Like, because she has only seen it through this guy.
Right, yeah. She doesn't get taken there, like, at all.
Yeah.
She's on the subway or wherever they first end up. And so, yeah, she immediately goes to, like, the high-rise and everything and hangs out there.
And she's like, you know, probably doesn't know that much about Earth history, so she's probably a little bit in the dark.
I bet, yeah.
Until she makes contact with the away team again.
Yeah.
And she starts seeing because there's news reports and stuff of what's going on, and so she's like, whoa, that's fucked up. And he's like, yeah, but, you know, they're cared for. Like, we give them food, and it's fine.
That's right, yeah.
And she's just like, you also don't let them leave. What the fuck?
Yeah, pretty bad.
At the party, they mentioned a few kind of groups or a few kind of current events. They were talking about some big student protests in France, and how the neo-Trotskyists, their government was, you know, they had to deal with it or something. You know, like, how are they going to handle this?
Can't wait for not just Trotskyism, but neo-Trotskyism. What's that going to be?
Yeah, so weird shit happening in France. I don't know. The show didn't, like I said, they kind of came to that solution of like
Negotiation.
Yeah, negotiating, but they also didn't make the hostage takers like, you know, crazed, irrational,
Straight
sort.
terrorists or
Yeah,
something.
they weren't just like bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
The guy even mentions the hat guy. I don't remember his name.
That's okay.
He's talking about the news coverage that they are watching too, and he's like, "Why do they sound so surprised when you treat people like animals? You're going to get bit."
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah. That's a great fucking point.
It is.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I really love that they do have that context of student protests, though, because that does indicate a mass movement. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be believable to be like, it all changed because this one hostage crisis. Because, like,
True.
we can paper over anything
Yeah.
if it's to save capitalism. you
So they
know?
kind of realize like this could spark off some more stuff if we don't handle it now, right? Like the protests and everything.
Yeah, yeah, because I think you have to have that context of like, yeah, clearly this is a widespread issue, and by making it in France, it's like it's not just San Francisco that's going through this. Like you can say like a lot of people are unhappy about this.
Yeah,
That's a really good point.
makes sense. I do also think it was funny that their demand for fixing everything was we want guaranteed jobs.
Yes,
Those things that everyone loves.
loves to go to, loves spending time at jobs.
Yeah. So in that way, I don't know, it was very centrist or
Very 1990s.
very, yeah.
Well, I mean, gosh, if that's what's pitched to you as your main problem, you know, I can't survive because I can't find work.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what you're going to demand, right?
True.
Yeah, but it's weird to me that like this society is already doing some handouts that like they wouldn't just be like, well, I want a house. Like I want better ways of living.
That would make more sense if they just demanded the stuff a job could get them.
Yeah.
You know, or might get them.
Because we don't see a lot of their economy in this episode. We don't see anyone working, except for like the people at the offices where they intake them. Yeah. And then cops, not real workers. And you see like the rich guys who I assume are just like tech billionaires.
Yeah, that guy like invented the whatever their internet is what he did.
Great.
Yeah.
Neo-internet. It seems like the slums are really just like, they're unemployed too. Like no one's working in there, right?
Right, yeah. You're just basically waiting in line for... That's where you stay while they find you a job.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That's pretty rough.
Oh, it's shitty, yeah. It's just like a universal basic income situation. Mm-hmm. And then everything else, like you said, you have to get a job to pay for. So it does kind of make more sense to be like, well, why don't we just universal basic housing ourselves too,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when clearly we have enough resources because rich guys over there having parties. Like,
yeah. Which they eventually get to. I mean, this is clearly very transitional, but...
Yeah. I guess my question would be, if we have rich guy party and slums, I wish I could see some of like the people that do have jobs and what their conditions are like. Is it just like going to be kind of in between that? Like they have their own house or something? Mm-hmm. Like, I think what's confusing to me is why then do they have such high unemployment? Like, is it because they're so good at producing things and they're just in this uncomfortable period where they are not willing to give people stuff?
Yeah, they talk about one of the guys, because the people in the sanctuary do like a video recording thing out to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And one of the guys is talking about like, I was working in this factory, it was a good job, but then, they brought in automation and I was out of a job.
Classic.
So, yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
They can make things more effectively, but they're not like changing the allocation of stuff, so it's just a bunch of people out of work.
Yeah. Wow. So they just haven't let go of that mode of wages and things.
Yeah.
Man, we're kind of there. Maybe not 2 years from there, but we're pretty close.
Yeah.
It's wild to think about.
I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a weird way to chart the course for humanity, I guess, between just what the capitalism we know and post-scarcity world. Mm-hmm. But it also kind of makes sense, I guess, that they would kind of do this. It's kind of like a social democratic reform style, right?
Well, I mean, not entirely. It's not like they got Bell elected. If that was the storyline, I'd be like, flush this episode down the toilet.
That's true.
I mean, there was still like a kind of violent action that had to take place. It's still a very limited one. And it's not like it doesn't, besides the protest in France,
it's a little bit
line,
clean.
It's a little bit like one guy did it. Again, great man stuff.
Yeah.
But at least it's not like he got elected mayor and changed everything.
It was a big campaign. That's true. But then the solution, what happens after that is they pass legislation. I mean, right? They
that's
change
true.
it. But that's fine too, I guess.
I mean, that's the idea of mass action to pressure people.
Yeah.
Like, that's still pretty good.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not bad.
Yeah.
It's not a worker state or anything, but it's not bad.
All right.
Cool.
Apparently, this episode was based on the Attica prison riot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So,
in the 70s, right?
I don't actually have a year, but you're probably right if you've heard of it before, because I just learned about it. But some people call it the prison rebellion, the prison massacre, or the Attica uprising. It was the bloodiest prison riot in United States history.
Oof.
And is one of the best known and most significant flashpoints for the prisoners' rights movement. Apparently, it was in New York.
Yeah. They sent in the cops to storm the place. I mean.
Yeah. Doesn't Angela Davis reference it in her
I believe so. Yeah.
book we read? Yeah.
Did y'all bring it up in the episode?
I think I vaguely remember it.
I apologize if I didn't.
You're good. I only barely remember it, and I was recording it, so that's pretty bad. Okay. Let's quickly move on to Voyager because I'm getting hungry and I need to eat dinner.
Feel that.
Okay, Voyager. I think the big theme, we've already kind of touched on it, is that they are kind of back to scarcity again. Not scarcity, but they are more concerned about resources.
Yeah, they're in a different situation, right?
Yeah.
They're not at home anymore, so they have to scavenge, basically.
Yeah, because almost not every episode, but a lot of episodes end with Next Generation of like, we went back to Star Station, whatever, to refuel and to get repairs. Like, these fuckers can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had this weird moment when I was rewatching some of these episodes. I watched this caretaker episode of Voyager, it's the pilot, and then I watched one of the Next Generation episodes, and it was just confusing because the plot line's so different, and the sort of conversations they have are so different. Why are they talking about like leisurely moving around here? Aren't they stranded? Oh wait, no, this is the different.
Yeah.
But that's something that frustrates me. A lot of times they'll start an episode being like, Captain, there's an anomaly here, and she's like, let's go check it out. I'd be like, bitch, we're trying to get home.
That is a hilarious thread of this for sure to me, is that they're like halfway playing out their Star Trek, reasoning of like, oh, we gotta help out whoever we come across. Yeah, gotta remain with our values and explore what can we find along the way. But they're also driven by like, holy shit, we're so far away, we're not going to get there for like 75 years.
Yeah.
And you're so right. It is hilarious when they're like, yeah, let's go like have some shore leave or like do this random thing, and it always gets them into trouble too and takes longer.
It does. It's always like, oh well, we wasted 20% of our fuel. I'm like, you should be way more upset about this.
You're stranded.
You should learn from that. Wow. Maybe don't go check out every anomaly. and that is a cause of conflict in the crew, like especially early on. So for some background here, you're probably very lost if you don't know Star Trek by this point. But so for some background here, the first few episodes are about, I guess, the pilot really, which is a 2-episode pilot, ambitious. This starship gets flung out to like what is it called? It's not the Gamma Quadrant, it's the Delta
Quadrant.
We moved on in the alphabet. And they also flung out is a Maquis ship. Now the Maquis we have already referenced, I believe. They are like not revolutionary, they're an independence group, I guess, maybe it's more accurate.
They're like settlers of some sort, right?
Yeah, so they were settlers on a planet that got occupied by the Cardassians.
Okay.
And a lot of Bajorans are in the Maquis as well, I believe. So Voyager was originally sent to go deal with that, and they like even had a guy on the inside. It was a whole problem. Yeah. And
I always
almost call him Tupac.
Oh my god.
But anyway, so they're sent to go investigate that, and then both ships end up getting flung out to the Delta Quadrant, which is like a bajillion miles away. And they have to end up merging their crews, and that causes a lot of conflict because you have this like kind of guerrilla warfare crew under the Maquis, and then you have the very regimented Federation crew.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of resentment between like, okay, who's in charge, who gets the promotions, stuff like that. I even think the choice to make it stay a Federation ship is pretty wild.
It is. It's amazing to me that they just agree.
Yeah.
And I guess it has to do with Chakotay, the leader of the Maquis ship, kind of deciding for his crew, you know? And so that's a little interesting. Like, they're, this kind of revolutionary group, but they still have this, like, crew structure.
Like, very hierarchical.
Yeah.
And, like, I wonder, too, how much of it is a pure numbers thing, because I'm sure the Voyager crew is larger than the Maquis crew. Like, I picture them as just, like, a pretty small ship.
So. Yeah, it'd be hilarious if, like, all right, I guess we'll all be Maquis now.
Yeah, what if it's the other way around? It'd be a crazy show.
Yeah, this will be fun.
But yeah, I find that really frustrating how, to me, this is the peak liberal show.
Ooh.
They are rules obsessed. and Janeway's just constantly harping about like Federation values and like, we can't stray from our principles.
Oh, yeah.
And to the point where like it's detrimental and it really gets in their way a lot.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I'm with you on that.
It's maybe my least favorite series. Like, I like the characters a lot. Like, I fucking love Neelix.
Yeah.
And like I think there's interesting people on board, but like I don't particularly like Janeway.
2 rules obsessed.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think part of it is that she's the first female captain, and I think they have to portray her as kind of a hard ass.
Oh yeah,
I'm
sure there's like
time-wise.
a huge push to do that. Like, because I don't know what kind of horrible stereotypes would come out of her being like caring. Or,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like I don't know.
Like,
But she is pretty caring and awesome in a lot of ways.
she cares about her crew for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's just a product of the time of like, we gotta have a strong female character.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, she has to wear pantsuits and like be
She's a
be
girl
one
boss.
of the men. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. All right, let's get into a couple episodes. So the pilot, which we already referenced, is called Caretaker. And this is when they get flung out and they're figuring out what the fuck happened. And they encounter this like being basically that takes them to this weird like southern farmhouse to try to like, they're like, I thought this would make you feel comfortable. I'm like, where are
Who
your
would be
records from?
comfortable?
Like,
Weird as fuck.
yeah, probably every black person on the crew was like, I need to leave. So they take them to this weird like hoedown and try to make them feel really comfortable, apparently. And they discover that it's actually this like, they call it the array at first.
Yeah.
And it's like this complicated space station thing that's run by some entity. And this entity is seeking out someone that can take over its job because it's dying. And so that's why it keeps like drawing people out from wherever. It's just like yanking people around and be like, are you what I need? No. So once again, they are not what it needs. So they're frustrated.
Well, they might be partly what it needs because it abducts one member from each crew.
That's right.
And
that's right.
Isn't that what kind of brings them together a little bit?
Yeah, because they're both trying to get their crew members back. So they abduct Harry Kim, who I love.
He's a
Precious
sweetie.
Bean. Harry Kim. I want to cradle him. And then B'Elanna, who I also like. She's cool.
She's cool.
And so both the crews are working together to try to get their people back, and they realize that this entity is caring for this planet. What's the planet called? Do we know? Do we care?
I know the names of the 2 civilizations. It's the Okampa. I'm not sure if that's the name of the planet or not, but that's the one.
Fine.
That's the people that this caretaker is worried about. I guess. Yeah.
So the Okampas, we learn, are this like underground society, like literally underground. And the caretaker provides for them. And I couldn't quite figure out like how much or what exactly they provide. Is it just the tech?
So it's like, it seems to be like food and resources and especially like power to like keep their complex going. Like they shoot these like beams or something, energy pulses, and that's like, I guess that's what's powering them, but it doesn't really make sense.
Because they notice the beams get like more infrequent as this creature is dying.
Yeah.
So it's providing energy for this massive underground society, and it's weird because like it's implied that the Okampa are like denigrating as a result, like they're becoming less smart, and apparently they even used to have telepathic abilities and now they don't, because eventually Kes, who is an Okampa, comes on the crew and starts developing her abilities, and she's like, it must be because like we used to have them and we devolved when we started getting our needs met. And I'm like, that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, that's a weird one for sure.
Like,
wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? It's a bit of a Wall-E take for me.
Well, it's the opposite though of what
Yeah, if
humanity
you weren't
and stuff
working, you'd be
did.
like moving shit with your brain all the time.
Yeah, it's because I mean they've gone through this too. Like, they're post scarcity. Everybody's provided for. They didn't get stupider like humans. You know,
Yeah,
like
you mean
humans
next generation? Yeah.
Yeah, like people. Humanity moved
Improved.
past that. Yeah, got
Yeah.
better. Like, but these guys get worse.
This is the most liberal version, I'm telling you.
It is a little weird though. I mean, like, I guess I can kind of see the like line between like taking, someone in power being like, no, you can't leave this complex.
That's true. It's an outside force that's doing it.
Yeah, and they've got some shield that doesn't allow them to go above ground. And I guess it's like because this entity like destroyed the atmosphere or something years ago.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a shitty situation. It's basically like this alien's like, I have to take care of them, but like in this really irresponsible way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I also feel you that it's weird that, like, whatever that is, like, stopping them from having their cool powers. You know, I'm not really sure how they explain that, but it's definitely weird.
I mean, it's an implied, like, laziness, and that's why, like, Kess is unhappy there. Like, the younger people in the Ocampa are like, no, we used to be better, we should be doing more for ourselves, which, like, yeah, sure, but, like, would that really cause your brains to devolve? Like, I don't know.
Well, that's how evolution works, though.
Yeah, that's not how evolution works. So, yeah, that's a good point, though, that it is an outside source that's doing this. It's like, this is kind of, you could say it's an imperialist narrative instead. You could say, like, because the alien's the one that destroyed their world and made it uninhabitable nearly. And that's why he feels responsible to them.
Yeah. It's like, I know better, you know, type of shit.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess that's fair.
But then the flip side interpretation, like you were saying, is just like, don't give people too much handouts.
Yeah,
so.
don't take care of people.
As soon as you brought that up, I was like, oh, I didn't see that. But that is crazy.
Okay, what's really fucked up about this to me, what's up with the Kazon, though? So the Kazon are these group of people who are on the surface still.
Yeah.
Did the caretaker just, like, say, fuck you guys? Are they the same race and they just, like, evolved differently? What happened? Did they just not get under the bubble in time? I have so many questions about these Kazon.
I'm not sure if they explain how they got there, but it does trip me out because it seems like the caretaker doesn't really
care about them.
Yeah, it's like not interested in, like, even acknowledging them.
Yeah.
And when Voyager comes, they're like, oh, maybe they have water. And they're like, actually, we can make as much water as you want.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, give us that thing that does that then. And they're like, no.
Yeah, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
that was my first big, oh, this is a different show moment of, like, I kind of get it, because, again, it's the prime directive bullshit of, like, we can't interfere. I'm like, you're already interfering. You're fucking here. You're talking to them. That's interfering.
Yeah.
Like,
It just raises questions for me of, like, what does a replicator cost? You know? And, like, it's so weird. It's like you have the technology to, like, make whatever you want, but, like, there's still the means, I guess, you know? How does that come about? What sort of materials you need? It's kind of, like, obstructed. They don't really talk about it that much, but
Yeah.
I think my question with the Kazon is, like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Like, you are a bajillion miles away from the Federation. At this point, they haven't super established what their ship is going to be. At the end of this, they're like, yeah, we'll be a Federation ship, and we'll get really horny about the rules. But, like, at this point, you haven't, so you could just give them a replicator, and it just doesn't make any sense to me why. And I think it's justified because, like, they're a very, like, aggressive war people, but it's like they have to be. They're on a fucking desert, and, like, they're just trying to survive. Like, it's just very little faith in these cultures.
Yeah, and it's like they're not thinking about the question of, like, why are they, like you said, they have to be. Why are they this warlike culture? It's seen as something innate. Versus, what if you gave them the water? Maybe they would be fighting less about water because they have it now. You know?
Yeah, and that's the problematic thing I think about a lot of Star Trek races is they're a monoculture.
They kind of have the D&D aspect of, like, you know, elves have this personality.
Yeah.
Dwarves are all like this.
And it's weird because they acknowledge it and they'll be like, well, humans are all different and blah blah blah. I'm like, that's fucked up, guys. Do you not see how that's fucked up?
Yeah. But on the other hand, it's funny. Like with the Ferengi, it's funny.
With the Ferengi, I'll take that because it's funny.
Only
and all
racism
Gucci
that's
cops.
funny.
Oh no!
I was gonna say stereotypes, but same train of thought.
That's not my platform, guys. I just like it making fun of capitalists and Gucci cops.
Only anti-cop racism, then.
That's fine. If cops are a race, then fine. So the way the caretaker resolves, I feel like, is very unsatisfying because they end up destroying the array. And guys, if you're all about the Prime Directive, I don't know if you should destroy a giant space station in this quadrant.
They just destroy it?
They destroy it. Because the guy dies. The caretaker himself dies.
Yeah.
Themselves. I don't know their gender. They present as male, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they decide that the array is too powerful of a thing to be in control under any one group. And the Kazon are on their way to go control it. And they're like, well, let's just blow it up. And it's like, that's interfering, guys. If the Kazon have spaceships, shouldn't you let them take it over?
Yeah, it's weird. I see it as this weird, like, second-hand Prime Directive. Like, the caretaker is there because they have these, like, morals they're attached to. But, like, anything they do is gonna, like, fuck up the civilization because they already did. And they're like, oh, we've got to keep controlling it so we can't give it over to the Kazon.
Oh.
And since, like, the Federation's there now, they're like, oh, well, we got to make sure the baddies don't get a hold of it or, like, respect this other being's wishes. It's almost like they respect them more than they do the people who actually live on the planet.
They respect the caretaker more?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, because they see the caretaker as this benevolent thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the caretakers are more like them.
Yeah.
Enlightened. And
That's yucky.
knows about it.
Yeah, they're both pretty imperial.
Yeah.
And I think they know what's up.
Because to me that's just so fucked. It's like you've already interfered by just even going down to the surface and then talking to people, then taking one of them as your crew, taking two of them if you count Neelix.
Yeah.
Like,
And so their argument was that this thing that had been giving them power, basically, right, the array, and now the caretaker was dead. It was too powerful to
be controlled by somebody else besides the caretaker.
including the people that it was providing power to beforehand.
Right?
Yeah, I
Couldn't you
guess.
just be like,
But what were they think they were going to do with it? Like shoot it at people instead? Like do a weapon with it?
I think their concern was that the Kazon were on their way to go control it.
Yeah.
But like, why wouldn't you just stop the Kazon?
Well, but
Or
even
also
if
just
they,
let them, because guys, they're living in a desert. Maybe they would like some infinite resources.
yeah, like I just wonder what they're worried about them. It's like it's kind of like a nuclear non-proliferation sort of
Yeah.
storyline of like, yeah, this guy was using it for like peaceful means, but we can't let people develop those sorts of things because what if they, use it for war or whatever? They use it for violence, and these unenlightened, people from the surface, they're going to do whatever is worst with it because that's how they are.
Yeah, and it is very much depicting as like, this is a savage race that can't be trusted with technology. And it's like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Pretty bad
All right.
ending, IMO.
Not a good one.
Yeah. And she gives some very, like, kind of Reagan-esque speech at the end of, like, well, now they'll be independent and be able to make their own future. And you're just like, all right. Like,
Okay.
I think that's when I think I texted you at that point, like, I'm a little concerned about Voyager. Like, what's going on here?
At the end of the pilot.
Yeah, I was like, I have feelings.
Yikes.
That's interesting. I mean, that's the time, though. Like, so 95 to 2001. The Democratic Party is essentially trying to become a nicer version of Reagan, because that's like how they think they're going to. 95, you're talking Bill Clinton's going into re-election. He's doing like triangulation, which is where he's like, I'm just going to poll, see what people want, and then like adjust whatever I'm doing to be like in between what the Republicans want and what the Democrats want.
Okay.
Like I'm going to be the middle, the third way sort of thing.
Uh,
Which is a lot of like neoliberal stuff, a lot of like basically being Reagan light, and
is that when the crime bill happened, or was that in his first term?
Clinton?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's first term, right?
Was his first
or is it
term?
second?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I'm not
yeah,
sure.
I don't know either.
My guess was second, but I really don't know.
Yeah. Well, I know Joe
What is
was.
it? Do you know the year? 90. I want to say 93 or 94, though, right?
I think it was around there.
Well, it would have been 94, I guess, because he wasn't. So yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been his first term.
Interesting. Yeah. Good old Joe was part of that, apparently.
Yes, yeah. But he's changed now, of course.
Oh, yeah. Completely different.
Obviously, everything's fine, guys.
Well, it's just interesting you bring up Reagan. It's like, that makes sense for the ideal, because the captains kind of represent, right, like the
morals.
societal ideal of that time.
Yeah.
And it's a nicer version of Reagan that's a woman.
It really is, yeah.
Who, I mean, Janeway probably has, more redeemable qualities. Than him. I don't want to-
Yeah. I mean, I honestly haven't watched enough to make a final determination, but that was a very bad first impression.
Yeah, well, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
She has a dog.
Oh.
But that's, okay, this is really telling. I thought that was the saddest part about them being flung, is that her dog was about to give birth to puppies. I didn't give a shit about her husband or whatever. I was like, what about your dog? He's definitely going to be dead by the
Oh,
time you
yeah,
get
she was
back.
like chatting with him or whatever, right?
I was
So
really sad about
sad.
the dog. Okay, anyway. All right, there's one more episode I want to talk about. Wait, what is Prime Factors? Fuck.
That's another episode, right?
Yeah, what is that one?
It's when they find the planet that's more advanced than them.
Yeah, let's do that one next.
Okay, cool.
The other side of this coin is the next episode we're going to talk about, which is called Prime Factors, Season 1, Episode 9. They're on the other end of the fucking stick.
Oh.
They meet a society that is more advanced than them, and Harry Kim follows this girl who's into him, and she takes him to this advanced teleporter and goes somewhere that's like a bajillion miles away, and he's like, holy shit, this is what we've been looking for. We need this. And Janeway is trying to negotiate for it, and they're just like, no, we can't do that. Like, that's against our laws. We cannot share this technology. And it's like, oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's great.
What did they say? They say it's because you guys are violent savages who could use it for bad, or like?
I mean, okay, so it's kind of funny. I read through the synopsis on this one. I'm not sure. I've definitely watched it. I don't remember it super clearly, but the synopsis was pretty wild. Like, just the way that they're talking about it, their culture is like hedonistic, I guess, this planet.
Yes, they're all about pleasure.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they love like stories and history and stuff. They come up with this idea to trade their like history and a lot of their information for this technology. They call it the trajector, I guess.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's a long distance transport. It would get them like halfway home. They said it was like 40,000 light years was how the distance Harry Kim traveled to this other planet.
Yeah.
And they only have like 75,000 to get home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 70,000
So that's
or something.
huge.
Yeah,
That's huge.
It would be enormous. And so someone approaches them from the planet offering to trade their information for a trajector illegally against the planet's wishes.
Yeah. And
And
against the captain's wishes, because she says no.
yeah. And so Tuvok finds part of the crew. I think B'Elanna's part of it, and that
This-
Cardassian chick.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Seska.
her name.
I
Seska's,
guess?
that's it.
And they all they go and carry out this deal. Tuvok is like, I'll do it myself.
Yeah. They do a mutiny.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they bring it back, and Tuvok's like, don't connect it to anything. I want to talk to the captain first. And they end up doing it anyways to
I don't
analyze
understand
it.
why you didn't do that.
I know. And it does some crazy shit, technobabble, overloads the warp core or something.
It fucks them up.
And someone has to like shoot it with a phaser and blow it up. And
It's like not compatible with their system, basically.
yeah. And so it's just like, it's funny because Janeway's just like really taken aback.
She's shocked that Tuvok has betrayed her. Because like he is her like confidant for the most part. So, and I thought it was great that he was the one that did it.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I thought that was fucking wonderful.
I think it's a really good example of them like really bargaining with their values to like get home, you know?
Definitely. Because there's a huge faction of the ship, and like Seska and B'Elanna are both Maquis, and I think they're much more like, who gives a shit about the rules? We want to get home.
Yeah.
Than the rest of the crew is much more willing to like listen to the captain. So I think it just really shows that tension nicely, and the fact that Tuvok was willing to like betray his captain over this. Like he started to feel like, this is more logical. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. that Vulcan logic.
Yeah.
A funny little tidbit here. I found out that a show I haven't seen, Picard, talks about the Sicarians, this race that they meet.
Oh, okay.
And says that the Borg eventually assimilated some of them and acquired the trajector and attached it to their Borg cube so they could like teleport their queen out if they ever needed to.
Oh, shit. Because Borgs are really good at teleporting too. That makes sense.
Yeah, they can travel way faster than anyone in the Federation.
Wow.
Scary.
That's super scary. Yeah. But I love the shoes on the other foot this time.
Yeah.
And like, it's just kind of delicious.
Yeah.
Especially just like coming off of like the first few episodes, you know? I do like that their currency is kind of like stories, though. I thought that was cute.
I think that's very fun. I mean, it's like, what else are you going to be interested in?
Yeah, and you
know?
have all the tech. Like,
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay. The final episode we're going to talk about is season 2, episode 14, called Alliances. This one's a trip. Okay, so it's established by this point that Voyager plus Kazon equals enemies. So they fucking hate them. The Kazon hate that they blew up the array, and so now understandably so.
Yeah.
So every time they run into Voyager, they get attacked, or they attack them. Various Kazon groups. So apparently there's lots of different like kind of tribes of Kazon or sects. And Janeway eventually is like, okay, this is getting too hairy. We need to make an alliance with the Kazon. And all of her crew are like super fucking against it. Like little Harry Kim speaks out against it. And she's like, don't fucking question me.
Yeah, Chakotay's like, we should be more like the Maquis here. And like, you know, I guess like he wants to make a deal with them, not for resources and stuff, but basically just like a truce.
A ceasefire.
And like we'll protect you if someone else is attacking you type of deal. Yeah.
So I guess, it's his idea first. And Janeway's like, okay, fucking fine. Yeah. So they start like setting up a call with like Seska and her new boyfriend. She ends up being like a traitor on their crew.
With a D?
With a T.
Okay.
Sorry, traitor. She used to be part of the Maquis, but was actually an undercover Cardassian who like did crazy surgery.
That's
Holy
right.
shit.
Yeah.
Like a Dr. Mengele thing, surgery?
I don't know who that is, but...
Well, she got surgery to not look like a...
Yeah, she changed her face
I
to
thought you meant
look...
like experiments on people.
Oh, no. She changed her face and like her features to look Bajoran.
Okay.
And she went undercover with the Maquis. And she used to fuck Chakotay, so he's all emotional about it. He's like,
Forgot about that.
and it's funny because like Tuvok was also undercover, so at one point he's like, was anyone on my ship because they wanted to be?
He's the one guy like that gets arrested for some FBI-backed plot.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like, what?
What happened? So they reach out to her to try to form an alliance with her new boo, who is a Kazon guy. Another warrior race that is like dark, guys. Can we not do that, maybe? There's an idea. And they even have like kind of like textured hair.
Some like crystals in there too.
Yeah, I can't tell what's going on with their hair.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucked.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucked. So they reach out to them to try to make an alliance, and they like try to assemble a council of like Kazon tribes or whatever to work something out. And they're setting up this alliance, and like it's a very controversial thing. They're like, this feels like it's going against the Prime Directive, like we're interfering, like we don't want to disrupt the power balance in this system. And then it gets complicated by the fact that they meet this guy who's part of a race called the Trabe. The guy's name is Mavis. And it's this race of people, and when he first shows up, Neelix is like, I'm super surprised to see this guy here, because Neelix is like their guide to this sector, because he's a local, and he's great.
He's awesome.
He fills in the captain. He's like, okay, the Trabe are like, they were slavers. They were this super advanced culture, like really big into like literature and like all these arts and stuff. But they were very like isolationist, and so like no one realized they were exploiting the Kazon as slaves.
Oh.
And that's how they're able to like be so artistic and wonderful or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I'm really surprised that this guy wants in on the peace talks with Kazon. That doesn't seem like correct. And so Janeway ends up meeting with this guy, and both she and Chakotay are like, I think he's learned his lesson, and like, let's make a deal with this guy. This is gonna be our new treaty. I'm like, wait a minute. So instead of siding with the people who just want fucking water, you're gonna side with former slavers?
Well, they've learned their lesson.
This is a Confederacy-ass apology. Like, what is happening?
Isn't there like a scene where when they first meet the Trabe, where they're like prisoners on a Kazon ship, and so it's like even more confusing?
Yeah, he's hanging out with Kazon. They're like, why is this guy here?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a prisoner. Hold on.
Maybe he wasn't, but it was something about like a bunch of families or something. It looked really bad.
Yeah. Let me see. He was trapped in a cave for 5 days after he was attacked in space. So yeah, they find this guy who was stranded, I guess, by the Kazon, and like it's him, and I think it's a few families too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that's right. Sorry if we're wrong. It's been a minute since I've watched this one.
Please, Star Trek nerds,
Feel free to correct
us.
me. It's fine. But the point is, like, I called it immediately. I want to be right here. So I was like, do not trust these motherfuckers. They're going to betray you. Lo and behold, they go to the Kazon Peace Conference. This guy blows it up.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
He used it as an opportunity to kill every Kazon leader there. And I was like,
There you go.
that's what happens when you side with former slavers, guys.
And Voyager gets out safely, right?
Yeah.
And it all fails miserably, and Voyager gains more enemies.
Yeah.
LOL, I wrote.
Yeah, nice peace treaty you did.
Yeah.
Ugh. It was such a frustrating one. Just a complete lack of curiosity, I guess, because I was gonna say awareness. And it's like, well, you don't know the history of this area. Like, why wouldn't you investigate more on this? Like, why wouldn't you say, like, it's justified because apparently the Trabe are like very scared of revenge from the Kazon. I'm like, yeah, you probably should be. Like,
Yep.
that's fair, but it's just really fucked.
Yeah.
Point is, it's fucked.
Yeah, no, I mean, forging regional alliances in places that you're unfamiliar with, that can backfire.
Who knew?
Even if you spend 20 years trying to put it together, it doesn't always work.
It gets undone in what, like 2 weeks? Yeah, I mean, that's my overall take on Voyager, is that the new ethos is Reaganism. It's not my fave.
It's interesting.
I mean, again, I've only watched 2 seasons. Maybe they redeem themselves later. Like, I still do like some characters from it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, the governing, like, the captain's kind of outlook. Because that's, what shapes, I guess. But you have characters within that obviously don't fit that archetype.
Yeah.
Like Harry Kim.
Yeah, I love Harry Kim. He's so good.
There's one set of episodes with Voyager where they're like, it has a really tough name. I would have to look it up.
It's okay.
They're basically like stranded with no resources for a while, and they're like super low on replicator rations.
Yeah.
A bunch of people in the crew die or get stranded or something, and the ship's like destroyed, and Janeway, everyone's got like, they're down to their like undergarments basically, just looking like Rambo, just covered in grease and stuff, and there's this point where like everyone's going really hard and they don't realize what day it is or anything, and Chakotay makes a silver pocket watch out of one of the replicators for Janeway and gives it to her for her birthday, and she had completely forgotten because they're going through this really insane time.
Yeah.
And she's like mad at him.
I'd be mad too.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it. I thought it was an interesting like thing about replicators though. Like they're just very like, I think her command was like to go recycle it again. Like I guess you can take any matter and put it back into the machine and make something else with it. But
I mean, it's like the new currency.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
But they use replicator rations as like a form of luxury currency.
Yes.
Everyone gets to eat because they have Neelix, who knows the local flora and fauna, and he cooks for them. It's adorable. I love his apron. But it's kind of like a joke that like he doesn't know what humans like, and like he always makes things too spicy.
Which I would love.
I bet, you would love Neelix's food.
Yeah.
I would love Neelix, but not his food. But then they have episodes where people use rations to like save up rations to make some like a gift for somebody. I think someone does that in another episode as well, like for someone's birthday. And then they at one point they have a gambling ring and they use rations as money.
Oh my gosh.
So it is weird. Like you are taken out of that post-scarcity world for a bit. And it's interesting to see how different people react to that. Like, what the fuck was Chakotay thinking? That's insane.
I know. He's just being sentimental, I guess.
Yeah.
Do y'all want to talk about the Doctor at all in Voyager?
Oh, I love the Doctor. I always love the robot.
Yeah, I know, same. I think there's a lot of like threads just talking about like trying to discuss what life is and what constitutes life.
Yeah.
With Data and also the Doctor.
I feel like with Data, like, they have an episode fairly early on where they do like a trial to see if he has.
That's what I was thinking.
If he has like autonomy, basically, because the Federation wants to like take him and go study him. And he's like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Which is fucked. So they have to do a trial to prove that he's not human but sentient.
Yeah.
Right.
And then with the Doctor, it's much more of a discussion. I wonder if it's just the physicality of him because he's a hologram.
Yeah, there's this whole plot point where later on in the series he gets a mobile hologram
so he can walk around
transmitter. Yeah, he clips it onto his side and he can walk out of medbay.
Yeah.
Which is like a huge thing for him because that's all he's ever known. And there's a lot of plot points of just him. Yeah, whether he's alive or what the heck he is,
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't tell me the answer. But does he ever pick a name? Like yes or no? Because that's a big plot point.
Don't tell me.
Don't tell me what the name is. But
I know that he contemplates it for a while. I'm not sure if he ever picks one.
Okay.
He may, but it's like a weird one or something.
Okay.
I don't know. He's based off of a person.
Yeah, his inventor looks like him.
Yeah, it's weird. So he gets to play the same character, He's an interesting character.
I really like him. And I think a lot of his development is about learning how to apply intellectual knowledge to the field, because he was designed as an emergency system, and so he doesn't have any like bedside manner.
Yeah.
And so like he trains a nurse who kind of trains him on like, here's what humans like, you know, like try to be nice. Except she's Ocampa, but you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love his development a lot. But I love an android. Again, married to an Aquarius. Can't help it. There's one more. This doesn't super have to do with capitalism or anything, but there's an episode where like, my tweet about this was, has a biracial person even ever touched the script or been in the same room as it? Because B'Elanna Torres is half Klingon, half human. They have an episode where her two halves get split, and one half of her, like, she's fully human, and there's also a fully Klingon one. It's fucked, guys. It's as bad as you think it is. Like, it's super weird, and it's just like, oh gosh, like, is that really what you think that experience is like?
Inside you, there are two wolves.
Exactly. It is exactly that. And like, her human side is all docile and scared because she's like being kept prisoner, and the other side is all like aggressive and stuff. And they try to be like, oh, well, like both halves are important and blah blah blah, but like it's just really weird.
Well, and that's partially their treatment of the Klingons in general throughout the series is very
problematic.
Yeah, they're very monolithic, very aggressive. They have, you know, like sometimes they're portrayed as like they do have like a better word, humanizing kind of, you know, they're people.
Yeah.
But they are also just kind of like, you know, picking their teeth with knives and stuff. You know, they're very unsavory.
Yeah, depicted as like pirates or something.
Yeah, so it's weird. That was a trip.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We probably shouldn't talk about Chakotay, should we? Do y'all
gosh, the spirit animal vision quest, every single Native American stereotype that's under the sun.
I think you know, a lot of this stuff is a product of the time. They're like trying so hard to address all this stuff, but like it's like, you know, they're not being inclusive or actually listening to what those things are.
Yeah,
it's more like being aware versus like really knowing too much about it. Like,
totally.
It's just like, they're Native Americans, guys.
Yeah, it's diversity, but it's not inclusion.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. That whole thing is pretty weird too.
It is.
All right, y'all. Have we talked about all the stars and all the treks?
Yeah, I would think so.
I think, there's plenty.
All right,
stars
great.
and treks.
There's so much more that we could get into.
I know.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, if I get that Paramount Plus, we might be back for more. We'll see.
You can share an account.
Yeah.
Start a Paramount Plus commune.
Hell yeah. Spread that resource. Okay, I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
I'm very tired. I need some food. I need to hydrate.
Same to all of that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here with us. It was a blast.
Of course, I had an amazing time. Thank you both.
Yeah, you're a great guest.
Thank you.
Very good. Next week, we'll be doing another biography of a guy we haven't really gotten into much, so I'm excited. All I know is he has cool hair and glasses.
He's been lurking in the shadows somewhat. We mentioned him here and there. And
we mentioned him in Star Trek, Neo-Trotskyism. he's due to make a comeback in 2 years.
Yes,
Maybe this is the start.
Could be. We'll play our part, you know, play our role as Gabriel Bell here and spread the word of one Leon Trotsky.
Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'll be listening in for sure.
Thanks, man. Hey there, comrades. Just jumping in to remind you of all of our social media. We are on Twitter at teachcommunism, Instagram at teachmecommunism. You can shoot us an email. That's teachmecommunism@gmail.com. Any of those places are good to send us an episode suggestion or a question, anything you think would be useful feedback for us, or just your admiration. If you want to admire us in a public manner, and you should, you can go to Apple Podcasts to give us a review. It is the best way to help people find the show. Love when people rate and review us. Please do both. We are also on YouTube, if that's how you prefer to listen to podcasts, or if you know someone that's the only way they'll listen to podcasts, send them to our page. And we have a Patreon. For $5 a month, you get access to our notes for each week's episode, including the backlog of notes, which is a very handy resource for up-and-coming commies. And at the end of the year, all of the funds from Patreon will be given to local mutual aid in the DFW area. So ain't going to line our pockets. Finally, we have merch. Check us out at TeePublic. You can find shirts and I believe also stickers and magnets and all kinds of fun stuff with catchphrases from the show or episode art, stuff like that. The link to that store is in the show notes, so check that out. Currently, TeePublic is running a sale from October 13th through the 17th, and again from the 27th through the 31st of October. You get $13 t-shirts and everything else is up to 35% off. Okay, that's all the internet. Join us next time for another episode of Teach Me Communism, where the class struggle is always in session. Bye, y'all.